Yo, what up? It's your boy Solo. Now we're back here again with another episode. And this is going to be about how humans are utilizing their mind to get lost in concepts and biases that stirs them away from the truth, when the truth is looking within, and how we're utilizing the mechanisms, the tools, the spiritual tools that makes the spirit come into physical reality and be consciously aware of the external physical world. And people grow up and they get indoctrinated by the system, and they're using their mind to learn something outside of them, when the spirit is already utilizing the mind to expand and grow and get into all different types of worlds and subjects. So you need to understand that in order for us to be in this physical reality, it had to come from nothing, and that nothing is what we call space. Everything has its own space and a parameter, and and the best way to define this space is nothingness. And that nothingness developed a mind, a spaceship where it can astral travel. This is what we're doing already mentally, and when we accumulate through those astral travels mentally, which is what you're doing in your dreams, this is how we accumulate density and physicality and make our own reality. But the first spirit that has done that, it has already expanded into what we call Earth, the world, the universe. And as organisms and species and humans, animals, we are those after the fact spirits that's developing inside of it, the bigger spirit, what we call God or the universe, or what people like to get lost in, multiverse and shit like that, which is lostness. But you need to understand that when you get indoctrinated and you learn things from what's outside of you to learn what you're already doing inside of yourself, you will get lost. You will get lost in your own hell, because as a spirit, you are using your mind, which is the ability to come up with visions and ideas and concepts to create worlds. When you're using your mind to learn about stuff that's that has already accumulated into this world, which is religion, science, all these types of mythologies and biases and indoctrinations, you are already adding on to what has already been accumulated. And these are just limited perceptions of what the colonizers gave us, what they thought it was real. And you're regurgitating matter and nonsense into this world, and you're making this world heavier, you're making this world more dense. And that's what your spirit is familiar with. You're familiar with science, you're familiar with religion, and when you die and pass on, that's what you resonate with. You're that type of spirit that likes to be comfortable and not expand. And when it's time to expand in some type of reincarnation cycle, your spirit is going to have no choice but to get out of those indoctrines and in search for something new, because that's what the spirit is always doing. It always wants to jump into something new, mentally, and then emotionally and physically. So as a spirit, your spirit is nothing. It's literally nothingness. You're always when you're stressed out or you have some baggage, you want to be mentally free, you want to be emotionally free. And this is about getting into that space of nothingness. you always want to be, you always want to feel like you're lightweight and free. So, and a lot of people are not going to understand this because you're so much into the physical world that your spirit is so heavy and dense that you're not even going to know what's real or not. You're just too, your spirit is just too much in those programs and in doctrines and vices that makes you feel like it's real. So all these programs that you learned from the physical external world, that made your spirit very heavy. And now you actually believe those things because, it made sense to you. But, not knowing how your spirit works internally by meditating and going within, you're not trying to free yourself from those baggages and indoctrinations, because the spirit created the mind, and the mind accumulates matter, what you call energy or whatever in science, which is, science is lostness. There's truth to everything, but not everything is true. So they got ya good with science and religion. And that's a form of hell because you're not knowing who you are, and the answers are still vague for you. So when it comes to knowing thyself, you have to really be in search for it. You have to meditate. You have to, question reality. You have to question why these things exist and why they, why does it so happen that we just exist on Earth and we live in a harsh reality, and why it's, you need to question that shit. You need to question why colonizers colonized this land and now everything is fucked up. If you got comfortable within that reality, then you just made your own hell because you accepted how it is. It doesn't matter if you got comfortable in it and you made your peace with it, because you're always going to come back here and relive those type of resonations what your spirit resonates with, and your spirit resonates with that density. And your spirit, like I said, your spirit is no thing. Your spirit is nothing. It's none of these things. It just accumulates these things. So as your spirit keeps evolving and keeps on, in search for newer things to get into, aka you're evolving as a spirit, you're expanding as a spirit. This is how we become human. This is how we become more intelligent. We evolve from, the smallest bacteria to, what we are right now, humans. But it all started as the spirit developing a mind, and that conscious awareness is, however that awareness is gonna be the species, is gonna be the awareness of however it comes into physicality to, navigate in the physical world. And that's how we, that's how spirits come into existence. And right now, everything is already made. Everything, has its course, has its functioning, male, female, reproduction. And this is how spirits come into existence. But there's different ways of how spirits can come into existence. And, we already are utilizing the male and female aspects of the spirit, which is the mentality, the mind, to be able to create visions and ideas. And that becomes dense, that becomes, it jumps into that world. It becomes inward. And, once it becomes inward, that's the feminine energy and becoming dense and heavy. It's like a womb. And, it nurtures those ideas and becomes physical. So, yeah. So people are utilizing their mind for the things that they're not supposed to. And this is why we're stuck in this hell, physical hell. Or, it could be a lot better, because heaven and hell is what you make it. So, yeah, people are using their minds for what is not supposed to be meant for. And once you get comfortable in those types of mentalities and worlds, it's gonna be hard to get out of, because you're gonna think is real, you're gonna think is right for you. And you know, I can't say if it's wrong or right, but how things got manifested through colonizing is, it wasn't the right way, it wasn't the right approach. And I wouldn't say it's all your fault, but you have to be accountable in the world you live in and how we become relatable amongst each other. And this is the world that we share. And if God was to come here and tell you what needs to be done, like how I'm saying it right now, and a couple other few, this is what he would tell you. He would tell you to get out of your biases, get out of your narcissism, get out of your ego, get out of your stupidity, and start listening to angels, native people of this land. They already knew the spirituality and how reality works, but you fell for the trap of the colonizers, and they gave you religion, science, all this retarded bullshit. And now you think you got it all figured out. You went to school, you got your bachelor's degree, you got your car, your nice car, your nice houses. You made your own heaven out of hell. Not saying that there's nothing wrong with these things, it's just how we do it with the knowledge. And none of you have the knowledge. So you did a lot of things in reverse. And we're all gonna come back here, reincarnate, and keep living this existence, because nobody knows the knowledge. But with that being said, I'm gonna leave it at that. Peace.